Hey, how's it going, Casey and Greg? I know these documents can be a lot of marketing jargon, so I wanted to quickly walk you guys through it. This is the influencer strategic. Of course, key topic is how do we leverage these influencers to build trust and authority and help with our content distribution strategy. Key objective, you know, like we outlined in this code, there's two kind of really big objectives, which is positioning Baxter as a thought leader, but make sure everything we do does tie back to performance marketing and lead generation efforts. I added all the individuals here. A few considerations that we took into play. Obviously, this is all still a brainstorm, but this is really important. We do want to be authentic. We don't want to break these individuals' trust. They've built their own authorship out in the world. Um, and then two, which I think is really interesting, from my experience in these types of strategies, not everybody is what I call a digital native. So it's likely that we'll need to create a solution or a service or something to really facilitate their success. And I'll talk about that in just a bit. Then we get into the strategy. The strategy continues to be how do we build accessible content to provide leadership and tie that to gated content for lead gen. And ultimately, it's a kind of an advanced concept called content clusters, which I'll explain just a bit of how we provide that authority to our key content. So the four main sections are content creating and topic input. Again, we want to understand how involved these individuals want to be, but they are the leaders and thought leaders in the industry. So we believe there's a lot of value in them helping us create the topics and that content calendar as well as define our voice. At the very minimum, trust quotes where we can send them the content we've created and allow them to provide their input. And if it makes sense, add it to our content. I think that will give it a lot of weight. Authorship, we can give the influencers the opportunity to be authors of our content engine. It's really, really good if it's not just us talking about the industry and we can have these real trusted individuals. And obviously leverage them to build our content calendar. Two, content distribution. The most lightweight opportunity, and I assume what you're going to hear from us and anybody else, is leveraging these people to distribute any content that's created. We want to package that up as simple as possible. I even have like a click to share example where you can just basically generate links and content and they could share instantly on whatever platform we decide, whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter. We can provide them a best practices and checklist. And I don't think it would hurt to have a webinar or a couple training sessions just to really explain to these people the strategy. The more they are bought into the strategy, the more chances of success we're going to achieve. Then I have this concept of content distribution as a service. We may want to consider some kind of social media management service for them. It can be really lightweight, and obviously it involves an approval process, but the more we facilitate distribution while maintaining their voice and trust, I think the more success we're going to have. Quarterly webinars. This is a unique idea I think we had. We can leverage them to do a quarterly webinar. You have a ton of influencers, so this should not be a challenge. And I think it provides a really good lead gen effort, like we said before, and a value-based touch point for our contacts list, as well as outside sales. So we can send a big email blast, or your outside sales team can communicate with their leads, saying, hey, we're having this really interesting webinar around this topic, and really try to get people to come and continue to view us as authorship and thought leaders in the space. Lastly, you guys mentioned these guys are influencers in their specific region, so there's really good opportunity, if we want to do something in Texas or some specific location, that we start to focus or leverage the influencers influence in that space to drive any ad copy or imagery or any campaigns that we do in that specific area. So in theory, they are known, and that would drive more engagement. Then lastly, we don't have to get too deep into this, but just a visual content cluster or topic cluster. Really, it's about creating what we call a pillar piece, such as the 2020 Guide to Vaccination Management for Practices. And then everything we do kind of supports that pillar piece, from distribution to collaboration to supporting content that's created. This is how you build like really, really hardcore authority on the web. And what ends up driving is Google sees this as a topic authority, and that's how we get extremely high search results for something like this. And what we do want to do is be that authority for vaccination management. And of course, this is not an easy strategy to execute, but it's definitely what we can do. And I think that's how we're going to win. Awesome, guys. I hope this helps. Thanks for listening to me, and feel free to reach out if anything comes up.